Hi everyone, I'm Brenda Cardinal of stampintulip.stampinup.net, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for our May 2021 Stampin' Class by Mail featuring the Well Suited Suite by Stampin' Up. I've teamed up with fellow demonstrator Gina Wieselman to offer these monthly classes by mail. This month, it's Gina's turn to show you how to stamp and assemble your cards, and next month it'll be my turn. Make sure to watch to the end of the video for a sneak peek of the cards I designed for our June class and for some bonuses for signing up for that class. Have fun making your cards. Here's Gina.
Thanks, Brenda. Hi everyone, I'm Gina Wieselman of MySweetPaper.com, and I can't wait to show you how to stamp and assemble your cards using the Well Suited Suite by Stampin' Up. You can find this suite in the January to June 2021 mini catalog. From the Well Suited Suite, we'll be using the Handsomely Suited Stamps, Suit and Tie Dies, Well Suited Designer Series paper, and the Well Suited Twine Combo Pack. We'll also be using the Tailored Tag Punch, Banners Pick-a-Punch, and Tasteful Textile 3D Embossing Folder. If you ordered a kit from either Brenda or me, all of your card elements have been die cut, punched, and embossed and included for you. Make sure to gather your supplies before we get started. You'll need Night of Navy, Smoky Slate, and Memento Tuxedo Black ink pads, Stampin' Seal adhesive, mini glue dots, multi-purpose liquid glue, Stampin' Dimensionals, mini Stampin' Dimensionals, paper snips, a bone folder, and a variety of clear blocks. Please reach out to either Brenda or me if you need supplies or if you'd like more information about becoming a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator or hosting an event. Let's get started. Our first card is the Birthday Banners card. If you purchased a class by mail kit from either Brenda or me, all of your supplies have been shipped to you. If you're cutting your own supplies, go ahead and pause here, cut everything you need, and come back for the rest. If you've taken a class with me before, you know I always stamp first. So we are going to use our Night of Navy ink, and we're going to be stamping a happy birthday to you on this tag. And the tag was punched using the Tailored Tag Punch. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp and aim for the middle of the tag. And that looks pretty good. So I'll set that aside, and that is actually all of the stamping for this card. You could, of course, stamp your envelope or a greeting on the inside, but that's all the stamping I'm going to do for this card. With that, I'm going to move on to assembly. In your card kit, you will notice you have two pieces of basic white cardstock that are the same size. However, if you look closely, one of them has been embossed, and I did that using the Tasteful Textile 3D Embossing Folder. So we're going to start with that embossed one. And this is going to be for our card front, so it will have the banner details on it as well. And all of these banners were punched using the Banners Pick-a-Punch, which I absolutely love because it has 3 different sizes and it makes it nice and easy for you to just slide your paper right in and get a perfectly centered and straight banner punch. So to assemble, I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal adhesive, and I'm going to start by just kind of placing the banners and determining roughly where I want them to go. So I might want that greeting to go about there. And then once I have a sense of, leaving a little bit of a gap at the top, I'm just going to start with banners. Okay. And I kind of did a layering effect here. So I had this one on the end. Maybe I'll glue that one next. And the reason that I'm deciding to adhere the two end pieces first, is so that then I can kind of space out the rest of the banners. And you'll notice they are not even at the top, which is completely fine because we'll be covering that up and just a little bit on either side will stick out. So you don't have to worry about lining them up. And in fact, I like kind of the random effect of the different length of banners. Once those are glued onto our embossed paper, I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to my Night of Navy cardstock right away. So I'm just aiming for equal borders on all 4 sides. Now, before I adhere this to my basic gray card base, I'm going to bring in my baker's twine from the Well Suited Twine Combo Pack. And what I'm going to do is wrap it around this assembly twice. Okay, and then I'll tie a bow off to the left side. One thing that I really love about working with baker's twine is that it's skinny enough that I'm actually just going to go ahead and tie a full knot. Of course, you could move forward with your bow before tying a knot, and that would work great as well. But given that it's thin enough and skinny enough, I just prefer that so that I don't have to worry as much about keeping everything tight as I tie. So I'll tie my bow, then just kind of work with the tails until it's the size that I want it to be. I think that looks about right. So I'll bring in my paper snips and trim those tails. Now I'm going to continue with assembly. So I will bring in my basic gray card base, and I'm going to use my bone folder to get a nice sharp crease. And then I'll continue with my Stampin' Seal and adhere this to the front of the card. Once again, I'm looking for equal borders on all 4 sides. Next, I'm going to put together my piece for the inside of the card. Now, I gave you a couple of strips of this designer series paper. You could absolutely use either side that you wanted, but I just liked this as a way to add a little color and detail to the inside of the card without necessarily adding another stamp. So I'm just leaving about 1/8 of an inch of the cardstock, and I'm lining up on one end, and then I'll do the same on the other side. Notice I'm not pressing down right away until I make sure I like how it's lined up, because this Stampin' Seal is very sticky. Okay, I did cut your designer series paper to be a little bit too long, just so that we don't end up with any white gaps showing through. So you can use your paper trimmer or your paper snips to trim the ends off. With that, we will add some adhesive to the back again, and we will go ahead and put this on the inside of the card. Okay. One of my favorite tricks in using punches, it's actually just one punch, punched out both on basic white and Night of Navy. And I'm just going to snip the Night of Navy horizontally down the middle, leaving me with 2 pieces. And then I'll go ahead and add a little bit of my Stampin' Seal, and I'm just going to use that to create a backing for this tag. And I love doing this because it's a way to back your tags and really make them pop without having to, you know, die cut something additional or stamp something on, you know, a color other than white. It's just nice and easy. And again, if there's any kind of overhang, I will just go ahead and trim that. Looks good. And finally, to attach the tag to the card, I am going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals. Mini Stampin' Dimensionals, of course, would work fine as well. So I'll just use 3 of them, remove the release paper, and position that on the card. And there's our first card design. Our next card is the Father's Day bow tie. And here are all the parts and pieces for this card. This card is particularly special to me this year because my husband and I welcomed our first baby, a son, back in February. So this is the card that my husband will actually be receiving for his very first Father's Day. I had to wait until he's out of the house getting a haircut to film this video and keep this a surprise. So once again, we'll start with stamping, this time using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And your kit came with 2 of these basic white pieces. They're exactly the same size. So go ahead and just grab one of them, ink up your greeting stamp, and we're going to stamp it on the lower right. That's all with the black ink. And next we're going to bring in our smoky slate ink. And with this, we're just going to, I have some scrap paper here, we're going to randomly stamp the bow tie image across the basic white strip. So I'm just aiming for a random appearance here. And I love this bow tie image, so I decided I'm going to stamp my card or my envelope as well. Your kit came with 4 of these skinny strips of designer series paper. Of course, 3 of them are going to be for the front, and this one I'm going to put on the inside of the card. Now I will note the other side of this designer series paper is kind of a gray pinstripe, and that would look great on the front as well. So feel free to mix and match. I'm going to stick with this on the inside just because I like how it coordinates with the bow tie. So to start, we will go ahead and get our stamp and seal, and I'm just going to apply my adhesive to one of the pieces of designer series paper. Ooh, sticky. So I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch of gap along the left side. And I'm gonna hopefully make sure that it's straight. There we go. It's a good way to use this grid paper. I can see that it's lined up on both sides. With this first piece in place, I can use that as a guide for positioning my other pieces of designer series paper. So I'll just go ahead and line those up with the second and the third. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the inside of the card right away as well. Again, leaving about 1/4 of an inch. Like on the previous card, you will very likely find that your designer series paper is a little bit too long. So I'm just going to come back in with my paper snips and and trim that from the back side so it lines up with my white. Still using the Stampin' Seal, the next thing I'm going to adhere is our stamped strip of basic white to the strip of basic black. And these are cut so they are the same length. So you'll line those up. And then we'll adhere this to that front panel right away. We'll take this whole assembly and put it on the basic black. And then we'll bring out our Pacific Point card base, crisp the fold with our bone folder, and we can put on both the outside piece and the inside. Our very last element is this bow tie, and I'm going to use a mini glue dot to attach the center piece to the tie. And then I'll just use some mini Stampin' Dimensionals to pop this up on the card. And there's our second design. Our third card design is the Suit and Tie Fun Fold. And here are the parts and pieces for this design. So just to show you what this fun fold will look like, the card opens up twice actually. So the first time we open up and we get the shirt and tie, and then the second flap contains the inside greeting. So as you can see, this is the only stamping on the entire card, and we'll start by doing that first. We'll be using our Memento Tuxedo Black ink and the stamp that says "You're the best." So I'll just ink this up and stamp it on the inside of the basic white card base. With our stamping complete, we can go ahead and start assembling this card. So I'm going to start and fold my thick basic white card base in half and score that, or sorry, crease that using the bone folder. It's already scored for you from the kit. And we'll do the same with the basic gray card base. Now, this is actually going to get layered inside. So what we want to do is make sure that it's lined up top and bottom. There probably will be some extra on either side just because the fold portion juts out a little bit, but that's okay. We can trim that really easily. What we want to make sure is that the top and bottom line up, because that won't be as easy to trim. So what I'm going to do is get this nice and lined up, and then I'll actually flip it over, just open the back flap. I'm holding everything really tightly in place, and then I'll add my Stampin' Seal. And we are just attaching this directly to the basic gray card base. And I'm being pretty generous with my adhesive. And now we'll fold that flap shut. So we have our card adhered and ready to go. And now it's really easy to just come back with my paper snips and trim along the edges. Now to continue on with our assembly, the next part I'm going to attach is this, I guess, lapel portion. So this layers right on to where it's been die cut, and I'm going to use my liquid multi-purpose glue for that. One thing that I want to note is I want to make sure that it doesn't stick at all to this inner card portion. So I'm just going to bring my scrap paper back and use that to make sure that we don't end up with a card that's stuck shut. Although I must say it would still be cute even if it were closed. So I'm just going to apply some of my liquid multi-purpose glue. I'm using it sparingly just because I don't want it to ooze with any excess. Now that the glue is on, I will pick this up and I'm just going to line it up at the bottom of the V first and then adjust both of my sides. And I love using the liquid multi-purpose glue for this because there is a little bit of time before it dries when you can slide and shift it around. So I'm just looking to make sure that it's lined up. And then from the inside, it looks like I don't have any extra adhesive. If I did, I would just go ahead and wipe that off now so that, again, we make sure that card doesn't get stuck shut. The other piece that I'll add to the front right away are the little buttons, and I'm going to use my mini glue dots for those. You could certainly use the liquid multi-purpose glue as well. I just find that the oozing issue becomes more prominent when I'm using these tiny little pieces. So I'll just grab a couple glue dots and put them on like so. The next piece to assemble is the inside of this card. I'm going to start by taking the tie and the knot portion, and I'm just going to use a little adhesive on that. In retrospect, I maybe should have just used my liquid glue or a glue dot, but that's okay. And I'll just layer that over the tie. I'm going to rub this adhesive off so that I don't get anything stuck to it. Okay, now I tried putting this together a couple of different ways, and we want to make sure that the tie is situated really well underneath the collar. So I tried, assembling the collar to the card base first, and that worked, but I had to be careful to make sure to leave some gaps to get the tie underneath. So what I actually found to work pretty well is just taking the collared piece and putting some adhesive on it. And I'm trying to get it all the way down to the edge. And then with that, I can actually just kind of lightly press it to the tie to pick it up. And now this whole piece together can attach to my card. So I'll just flip it over and add some adhesive to the tie portion. And of course, I still have that adhesive on the collar. And now, carefully, I will center this, line up the collar with the top, and if you need to adjust your tie at all, you can do that as well. So again, I'm making sure that I like where it's at before I apply my pressure. And the only other piece that's left to add is our pocket. So that is just a simple matter of applying some adhesive and then deciding approximately how high up you want your pocket to go. And that is our third fun fold design. And now I have a few additional bonus designs to share with you if you're interested in using your Stampin' supplies to make more cards. At first glance, you might notice that this sample looks very much like our fun fold card, and it is in fact very similar. However, this one, instead of opening up, it contains an insert. So this is where you would write your greeting. And What I did with this card is just use tear and tape adhesive on either side to make a nice strong base for the insert. This card uses a couple of similar elements with our tailored tag punch and the tie die cut, but I decided that I wanted to add a little bit more dimension and background, so I just cut some of the ties using basic white cardstock and layered those on the back. In a similar way, on this design, I used both the large and the small bow tie dies to create the background. And again, a lot of die cutting to just get those cut out of basic white and to create that background so that the greeting and the accent bow tie would really pop. This card was inspired by Karen Titus, and the thing that's really cool about it is you just use your paper snips to cut at an angle along the basic white cardstock and then fold those flaps in to create the collar, which I think is so neat. And you could have a lot of fun with many different color combinations for the tie with this card. And with this sample, I decided to make more of a sweater looking card. So I used our cable knit embossing folder and then just added the elements from the suit and tie dies. With the sweater design in mind, I decided to make a feminine card, again using that sweater idea. So this uses the Hydrangea Hill Designer Series paper. I've embossed using the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder, and then added some of the pastel pearls to create both the buttons and the necklace here. And that sweater design got me thinking, and I felt like the V was a little too deep on this one, so I decided to raise it up, and that made a nice kind of overlap of the collar over the sweater, and then again use some embossing folders and embellishments to add buttons and a necklace. This design is actually one of Brenda's that she made for me, and I love the way you get the 3 bow ties in 3 different designer series papers, and then the greeting as a focal point on the front. This design is very similar to one of the cards that we made with this class, but instead features the tie and is oriented differently than our other card. And I really like, again, this color combination, and I think it makes a great Father's Day card. And to go along with it, I decided to create a little 3D project using one of our mini paper pumpkin boxes. So I have a little belly band here that can slip off. And the great thing about these boxes is they are lined with almost a plasticky seal. So they are actually food grade products. So you could put some cookies in there or some other nice treat to go along with the Father's Day gift. And I think this box would also work great with the card that we made as part of this class. I absolutely love using the tailored tag punch to showcase a lot of different patterns in the designer series paper. So this card came together really quickly. I just punched a bunch of those shapes, adhered them down, and added a stamped greeting, a couple of layers of cardstock, and that was it. And finally, I couldn't resist making a Harry Potter Gryffindor robe card out of this set of dies. So this card was very much inspired by The Joy of Stampin' with Rachel. I made some slight tweaks in terms of color and adding some texture with an embossing folder, but I just love this card. My nieces and nephew are big Harry Potter fans, so I can definitely see using this for one of them. And the colors that I used for the tie were the Bumblebee, which is one of our in colors, and the Merry Merlot. Thank you for participating in this month's Stampin' Class by Mail. And here's Brenda with a few more things for you.
Thanks for showing us how to make those handsome cards, Gina. If you order a class kit by mail from either Gina or me, be sure to follow the link in the email that shared this video with you for a specially curated Pinterest page that Gina and I put together with even more fun ideas of how you might use your well-suited supplies. June is my turn to design and share the cards with you, and I'm excited to show you a sneak peek of the card designs featuring the new Pansy Petals suite by Stampin' Up. This new suite can be found in Stampin' Up's brand new 2021-2022 annual catalog. This new suite features the brand new 2021-2023 in colors. The colors include Evening Evergreen, Fresh Freesia, Pale Papaya, Polished Pink, and Soft Succulent. This new set of ink colors are just beautiful. The class includes all the supplies you'll need to make each of the 3 card designs, including envelopes. And one of our cards is a fun fold. All you need to do is add the stamp set, inks, and adhesives. From the Pansy Petal suite, we'll be using the Pansy Patch stamp set and the Pansy dies. Also from the suite, we'll be using the Pansy Petals Designer Series paper and the Bumblebee trinkets. And we'll pair all of this with the brand new in-color 3/8 inch open weave ribbons. We'll be using some elements that have been punched, die cut, and embossed for you. These elements include things from the Treasure Tags Pick-a-Punch, the layering circles and scallop contour dies, and the painted texture 3D embossing folder. Our ink colors include 2 of the new ink colors, and they are Evening Evergreen and Polished Pink. If you haven't already invested in the new ink color ink pads, I would suggest you buy the bundle of 5 and save 10%. Trust me, you'll want them all. They're just beautiful. The adhesives we'll be using for our cards include Stampin' Seal, mini glue dots, Stampin' Dimensionals, and multi-purpose liquid glue. The deadline to register for this class is June 5th, 2021. But we have some bonuses if you register by May 27th, 2021. If you register by this date, we'll include 2 bonus cards with envelopes from our stash with your June kit. We also have some bonuses if you find new friends to take our Stampin' class by mail, so be sure to check your email or reach out to Gina or me to learn more. If you're not already on one of our email lists, please contact either of us to learn more about this, about hosting a Stampin' Up event, other fun stamping opportunities, or of course, to learn more about all the benefits of joining the Stampin' Up family. There are 2 fabulous promotions going on right now from Stampin' Up that we want to mention. First, from now through June 14th, 2021, earn an additional $25 in Stampin' Rewards when you host a Stampin' Up party of $250 or more. Second, during the month of May, you'll receive an additional $30 of products of your choice in your starter kit when you become a Stampin' Up demonstrator. That's right, for just $99, rather than choosing $125 worth of products, you get to choose $155 of products for your starter kit. And with a brand new catalog, and I'm sure your wish list is long, I'm just saying, you might want to think about it. Contact Gina or me to chat about either of these 2 promotions. And as always, we'd love to get your feedback about our Stampin' class by mail. And until next month, happy stamping!